Hey everybody, Greyhawk Ruins here, and I was giving thought to the various Castles Greyhawk that have been around over the years, and that's what I thought I'd delve into a little bit today on Greyhawk Ruins. So it's easiest to look at this in terms of chronology, right? So there was Gary's original Greyhawk dungeon back in 1973, I guess it was, 72, when he was first putting together the D&D rules with Dave Arneson, and that famously where Luke and his sister were two of the first players, and they encountered a giant centipede or something. So that is the first dungeon, right? I believe that was 12 levels, and that was the original one. Then Rob Kuntz came in as the co-DM, and they took a lot of Rob's material from his own dungeon that he'd been running, and they kind of merged it into Gary's dungeon that was 12 levels. So now there were all these different sub-levels and side levels, and there was a lot more stuff there. So that is kind of the second Castle Greyhawk. Then we have all the stuff with Gary getting tossed out of TSR, and they decided in their wisdom to publish this monstrosity. This is Castle Greyhawk. This is the joke module that seems to have been published with the aim of just sticking a finger in Gary Gygax's eye. I know some people are a fan of it in terms of, you can, if you approach it for what it is, it's not bad in what it tries to do. I just don't like what it's trying to do. It might be possible to salvage one or two levels here or there. It's funny though, this was canon. This was the canon Castle Greyhawk for a while, so you'll actually see references to things in here in some of the Great World of Greyhawk material that was published at the time. So it's very weird that way. But then more time passed, and TSR came out with this, Greyhawk Ruins, which is actually a very decent mega dungeon. It is... It's very big. It's got the 3 towers, 3 different dungeons in essence. It's got weird maps that don't have a grid on them, so it's kind of hard to follow sometimes. But they are color-coded, which is really cool. This is very neat, and they did follow up on it with in the 3.5 days. I think it was 3.5. Might have been 4 with Expedition to Castle Greyhawk, which took place in there and explored kind of other places that should have been included there, like the God Trap and things like that. So there's that Castle Greyhawk. There's also the Castle Greyhawk that Gary would run at conventions, and that's a very different Greyhawk than any of these others. That was kind of a slimmed down version of the combined Gygax Kuntz version of the dungeon, and he would run that at cons, and there's actually pictures of him doing it, and there's pictures of the maps kind of obliquely, so there's yet another one. Speaking of the Rob Kuntz material, he has published this, which is El Zagyg, the archive, which is a CD-ROM which contains all kinds of different images and files and stuff from his original El Zagyg dungeon, which parts of which were then moved into Castle Greyhawk. So that's kind of it gets a little confusing. Then we've also got modules that he published. So there's the original Bottle City, which was republished as by another company, and I believe they did updates to it. This is the Black Blade version, and that is an encounter that took place in the original Gygax Kuntz dungeon. Bottle City, as you can imagine, it's kind of like the in Superman, the Bottle City of Kandor. It's kind of like that. There's also the living room, which was a very famous encounter from that version of the dungeon, and recently Legends of Role-Playing published Beyond the Living Room, which I did a review of a while ago. It's a really cool dungeon, very cool adventure. Then we also have Castle Zagyg, which was Gary's attempt to finally present a definitive version of the dungeon that other people could have. Unfortunately, after publishing this box set, which is absolutely gorgeous, it is jam-packed with wonderful stuff. Jeff Talanian worked on this with Gary. They had planned to do a whole series of these box sets, and then Gary passed away. And the Gygax estate took away the license from Troll Lord Games, and they had to take it out of print, and no more of the planned expansions were coming. So they ended up doing the surface and the first dungeon level, and that was it. Now, since then, obviously, there is my completely unofficial Castle of Mad Archmage, which is an homage to that original, and which will actually plug into this. If you start with this, you can then carry on with Castle of Mad Archmage. The things all line up. So, that by sheerest coincidence, all the stairways line up. But that's, and I don't want to get into a discussion of canon and stuff like that, but the stuff that I did is definitely not anything official or even close to official. It's nothing. It's my own. But those, as far as I'm aware, those are the various iterations of Castle Greyhawk and the Greyhawk dungeons. And personally, I know that the original notes still exist. They're locked away in Gary's widow's. I believe they have a controlled, storage thing for all of his papers and such like that. And I know they're being cataloged and such like that. So, maybe one day we'll get a view of those. I know there were plans at one point to publish just those, and then that kind of fell through for various reasons, and that led to the Castle Zagyg thing. So, who knows? But the various iterations that Gary put together do still exist, and Rob has been publishing his parts of those here and there, and it would be great someday if we could get a look at them. I'm very sure that the notes that were being used to put together the Troll Lord Castle Zagyg stuff, I'm sure those still exist in some form somewhere. But again, the rights are held by the Gygax estate, and they are not looking forward to releasing them anytime soon that I'm aware of. Believe me, if they do, no one will be happier than me. So anyway, I thought you'd enjoy this little trip down the lane of history when it comes to Castle Greyhawk. And once again, as always, I want to thank you